All right. Dream Team 718. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's so funny. I saw this meme I think like a year or two ago, and it literally said, "Love yourself the way Kanye loves Kanye." I was like, "Oh, that is actually not a bad idea."
Well, you know what, man? Yo, I think about Kanye often because, like Mike, Kanye for me, I think Kanye did for our generation what maybe the generation before us, like what Tribe Called Quest did to them, where it was like, oh, hip hop dudes that love hip hop, but they don't sell drugs or go to jail. This is kind of cool, right? Like when the Leaders of the New School came out and Tribe came out, it was guys who loved hip hop, but they weren't street dudes. And I felt like because of Kanye, we don't get Drake if Kanye doesn't come out. I don't think we get Lupe if Kanye don't come out. There's a whole group. We don't get a Wale if Kanye don't come out, right? So as much as, and I hate when people get on Kanye so hard because I've been, and like Mike, like most of us, we've been following his career since the beginning, and he's been striving. I think he's been the most authentic artist we've probably seen in our history. And because of his authenticity, we've seen him down and we've seen him up. And that's what our lives really look like, right?
Wow.
That's what our lives really look like, Kanye's life, but we front like it don't. Like our life really look like we see it on the albums. College Dropout, late registration is like, okay, graduation, I made it. Like me here, I just beat 50. This is dope. Then my mother dies. Oh, this sucks. Now we going to 808s and heartbreaks. That's life, bro. Like he hit graduation is like the peak. Like he made it. Everybody who said he wouldn't have made it, he made it. But shortly thereafter, his mother dies. Then we get 808. He goes through a breakup and his mother dying. That's why 808 sounds the way it does.
Yep.
Because he's going through real life stuff. And you got to respect Kanye. And if Kanye's listening to this, he finds this, know that I know all of us on this call is praying for him, right? Because, like, we're praying for him. Like, because I hate it, man. I hate when people be like, yo, Kanye's a head case. I'm like, Kanye's a real human that actually puts his feelings out there on display, unlike no one. Everybody else is fronting. Everybody else is fronting. Kanye's the only one not fronting. And he needs help like all of us. We all need help, right? Because there's a time and place for everything. So when you're too impulsive, like Kanye has been shown to be, you build the reason why Jay-Z is where he is compared to like Kanye, it's not like a lack of talent thing. Like Kanye is probably a better musician artist than Jay-Z. Artist, but socially, Jay-Z's more socially adept. Like he understands people.
Yeah, man.
Right?
He tempers it. That's just
adept.
Bro, he shows you how to move in a room full of vultures.
I love it.
No, he's observant, he's patient, and he watches the room. You know, like the Bible says, a wise man gives thoughts to his ways, right? What wisdom says, before I jump off the roof, let me get some context. Maybe a parachute. Maybe that might work. A parachute might be worth me jumping off the roof before I do that.
And I think it's because he's not as impulsive too.
Correct. But impulsivity damages your life, and we know that. Like I know I've been impulsive in my life. Being impulsive is that's good when you're young, and if you don't die. But you have to be very careful about being impulsive.
So what we're saying is this. Seek help, right? Surround yourself with positive people and surround yourself with people that has your best interests at heart. They don't have to be yes people or yes men as they call it. They'll call you out when you're making a mistake, but even though you're making a mistake, they're still there to support you, right? But I say that to say,
if you do that, she's in the history.
Even with all that, I think it still has to be tempered with what Ben said. Like you have to believe in you. You have to believe in what you're bringing to the table, right? You know, like Ben said, you have to believe your own hype, because if you don't believe in it, like how are you going to convince anybody else?
Well, and the reason why I said that initially, you know, obviously we're lucky to have a team, but not a lot of people have access to genuine people.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to find a group where it's like, you know, that their criticism is coming from a good place. And at the same time, you know that whatever you have to say, constructive criticism, it's not going to get taken in the wrong way. That's why it's hard for people to find, you know, a group like that. That's why for me, as an advice, I would start with really, number one, ask yourself, what are you doing this for? If you don't believe the journey, then, you know, there's no point in even starting it.
So like Tony Robbins said, what's your why?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. So you got to really sit down and figure that out, right? And once you decide, okay, cool, I know why I'm doing this, you just got to keep reaffirming that in your head. Because like the first day you decide, like the first day I decided, you know what, I'm going to take photography seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes a while for your mindset to really embrace that. Because every day it's always going to be a new battle with like, you know, can I really do it? Am I really good? And you just got to keep reaffirming, like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, whatever it takes, blah, blah, blah. You know, you got to keep reaffirming that every day. And that's going to solidify the belief in your journey.
And what did that journey look like for you though? Like,
well, initially, to be honest, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. You know, after 2 months, I'm going to have like 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I was still comparing myself to what other people were doing. And that was a danger of that. And then after 3 months, when I'm like, man, this is kind of harder than I thought. Now I had to really figure it out. Like, okay, do I really want to do this? And what do I really see? Where do I really see this going? Right? And then once I came to grips with that and I figured that out, I'm like, all right, you know what? This is my lane. You know, I'm going to just believe in my skill, believe in what I could do. I'm going to stay in this lane, stay in this pocket. Because the minute you start doing that, the minute you start looking left and right, you know, when you're not comfortable with your journey, that's the detriment with comparison.
you know, it's so funny. It's interesting. You said it's like walking a tightrope. You know, the moment you look down, you know, you greatly increase your chances of falling.
Right.
Right.
You know,
but let me just say, at the same time, though, once you're comfortable with you and your skill and what you bring to the table, then the looking left and right, now it's more like MJ Kobe, where it's like, all right, I'm going to use this to push myself to the next level. And it's not putting you down anymore. Now it's propelling you forward because you're confident in what you're doing, because you know where you're going. Now you're just taking, that's when the comparison becomes inspiration. But before that, I think comparison is a detriment, because that could just get you more depressed and, you know, cause you not to even start with the journey.
So comparison should be tempered with self-assuredness, self-belief.
I would say so, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
I think there's two sides of it that we mentioned. I think the side that we mentioned initially in the beginning of this conversation, it was the negative side of it. But then I think the other side of it, you could use comparison as an inspiration. You know?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For it to be inspiration, you know, it definitely needs to be tempered with believing in yourself, believing in what you're capable of, and knowing knowing what your goals are, knowing what your end goal is, and having that, you know, that vision.
Right. And I think once you know that, that's when you start attracting people with the same mindset. And that's when it's easier to form the group.
Right. You know, it's funny, Mike, I saw Mike. I know Mike had something. He had a gem. Mike had something just now. I saw it. You had something. Like, I think it was like a couple frames back. You had something. I saw it on your face, bro.
Oh, no, I was just thinking when Ben was talking, like you need that passion. But the funny thing is, I was thinking about Valentine's Day past not so long ago, Love and Basketball. Like the Omar Epps? Is it Omar Epps?
Yeah.
Omar Epps' character. He was nasty at ball. Like he made it to the league and all that. But he realized, I don't even want to play basketball. Like he wanted to play ball because his pops played ball. And the crazy part is, once he saw his father's downfall, like his father cheated and lied to him, the man that told him without going too deep into it, the man that told him that, you know, you don't lie. He said, I thought you told me men don't lie, you know? And I think he told him, like, you don't understand. And it's just like, now it doesn't apply all of a sudden. But once that facade was shattered, this perfect image of the pops, like who knows if his mother didn't have the pictures, once that was shattered, and I think he injured himself, he was able to sit back and be like, yeah, I really don't want to play ball. Like, this isn't my passion. I only want to do it because of my pops. So I think sometimes, like for instance, like Gary, like, we know you love Kobe, but you didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna go to the NBA. Like, no, like you still like you love his regimen and how I think and Jordan's very similar in the sense of like their regimen, like they made sure they was on it. As talented as they were, they made sure that their regimen kept up with like their ambition and their dreams. And I think that's something similar to what you show, like, you know, when you do Mamba Mornings and just the dedication and getting back to it. But at the same time, you didn't say, yo, I'm going to actually go out there and I'm going to ball too. Like, that wasn't your passion. Like,
right.
Passion is like what you're actively living out, but you allowed their dream and what they did to inspire you, if that makes sense. I think sometimes we see other people do something and we want to do exactly that when that's not our lane. That's our inspiration for what probably is our lane, you know.
So those are the two different sides.
Yeah.
You know, one is the detriment and one is the positive.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine if Gary was like, yo, I love Kobe. I'm gonna try to be in the NBA. And then you get watched.
I'm a super optimistic dude, but the numbers ain't really in my favor. I'm 5'8". I'm 5'8", bro. In the history of the NBA, I think there's only been like 10 dudes, if that, in the history of the NBA, under 5'11". And we could probably name them on like our hand, like Earl Boykins, Muggsy Bogues, Nate Robinson. Like it's probably only like 10 of them, right? So Spud Webb. So I was kind of like, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with that.
It's funny.
And I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate you recognizing that. And
it's interesting that Mike said that because I'm not into that much into sports. I grew up watching wrestling and MMA, right? And my favorite MMA fighter is Anderson Silva. And this dude is 50-something years old now.
Good gosh.
Right? And
he still give you that work, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him in Applebee's at all. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah, that. And I think his most devastating loss was like a year or two ago. And I mean, he got injured.
Yeah.
Right? And can you imagine me talking about, yo, I love this guy. I like this guy. I like how dedicated he is. Can you imagine me being an MMA fighter, bro?
Yo.
And you know, one time in the face, I'm like, ref. No.
Ref. God.
No.
Like
I know you saw that.
You have the first history, like self-appointed TKO in the history of UFC. Like you called the TKO. You didn't let the ref call it. You called it.
No. First hit, it'll be like, time out. Hold up.
He hit too hard. Like,
Right.
I didn't know this was a part of this. I didn't know.
I need you to take his gloves off. Make sure there's nothing in there.
Yo,
Just his fist? All right, yeah, I'm out.
yeah, this is not good. This is not
Yo,
good.
what comedian was that? He was talking about he got into a fight and he got beat up so bad he thought like 4 people was fighting him.
That sound like something Kevin Hart would say. Sound like
It's
something
either Kevin Hart or Cat Williams.
Either
One
you,
of the two.
it sounds like something.
When he gets into a scuffle and then he gets hit like here and here, he's like, yo, who hit that? It's like 4 of y'all. Anyway.
That sounds like Kevin Hart for sure. Man, I think if we got time, man, I think something, and I had an interaction with a parent over the weekend, and it's not the first time this has happened, when we talk about like finding your vision and identifying your goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think for young men, and I know this has happened to me, we at a very early age sometimes have an idea, right? We have an idea of where we want to go with some of the things we're interested in.
Yeah. I was gonna be the top programmer in the world, bro.
Yo, we have an idea, but here's what happens. And Mike, I've called you many times about this. Sometimes the people closest to you, family, should not have the privilege of knowing what your dreams are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those people are on American Idol.
You can do it, baby. You can do it.
You can do it. And Mike and I had a conversation maybe a couple Saturdays ago where, and whoever watches this, there's someone right now who has this amazing dream that has never been done in your family history ever. You're going to tell your mom, you're going to tell your aunt, you're going to tell an uncle, and they're going to throw a pin in it and deflate you. Not because they don't love you, it's just they don't get it yet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us stop before we start because we tell the wrong people, right? And you know when you find out who the wrong people are? When you feel your idea gets deflated. And then you have to learn from that, like, I'm never telling them again. Like, I'm only telling Mike, Ron, Ben. Like, or you have to, because what happens is, no matter who you are, whether you admit it or not, when you share the excitement of your dream and somebody doesn't support it, or they tell you the reasons why it doesn't happen, or why it can't happen, it does something to you. I know it does something to me, and I'm a pretty excitable, positive guy. But if I tell the wrong people my dreams, I'd be like, maybe I can do it, even if I don't want to. I do that, and a lot of people tell the wrong people what they're dreaming. I had a mother tell me over the weekend. We were just having a conversation. She was like, I'm really upset with my son. He's 28. He don't know what he's doing with his life. I paid all this money for him to go to school. And he ain't doing nothing with his life. I was like, man, you know what's interesting? I never met your son, but I know your son. And she's like, how? I was your son. Like, if somebody would have gave up on me when I was 28, I wouldn't be where I am now. And so many parents and adults give up on young people, especially young men, when they don't have it figured out by 28 or figure it out by, like, who told them they were supposed to figure out by when? Like, there's no by when. What you could do, and she was like, he has this dumb dream about being an entrepreneur. I'm like, that dumb dream might be the dream to buy you a house and get you out of like you see what's happening? Our dreams are getting cut off at the knees from people in our family.
And mostly, like, it's fitting that we're talking about this comparison, and you, Gary, just brought it up because I learned that the hard way when I was young, the dangers of comparison. Because back then, I'm not going to mention, but there was a family member who was like, always, right? Every time I'm like, yo, I got a 91, 92 in this class. Oh, your cousin got a 95. Or how come your cousin could do this and you can't? So early on, and imagine a kid hearing that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know how to take that before, and then so I was really confused as, I was going through that as a kid, and now realizing, man, that wasn't on me. That was on, that was on the family member, because that's not what you're supposed to do to kids.
Right.
So, it's so funny. It took me a while. It took me a long, long time to really, like, realize what is it that I want to do, what my passion is, right? I went through some of the same thing. Like in high school, one of my mom's close friends, and her daughter went to the same school with me. We were in the same class, and so my mom was always like, "Well, she got a 90. Well, like, why are you not getting 90s?" I'm like, and in my whole head, I'm like, because I'm not her.
Okay, Ron, 1 second though. In their defense, I think they're using it as a motivational tool.
But they don't realize the impact it's having.
They don't realize that,
Right.
I'm fortunate. For me, I'm fortunate that, my whole family is filled with like nurses, right? But my mom, I was fortunate that I had a mom who was like, whatever you decide to do, as long as you're happy, do it. Like, so I was fortunate enough, and that's when I started realizing, like,
it's fun because also for me, when I graduated high school, I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to college. Now, I come from a Caribbean family. There's no such thing as I don't want to go to college. That doesn't, and for a whole year, I heard, you're wasting your life. You need to go to college. You need to get a degree.
Your own people, bro.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with what they were saying, but they weren't listening to what I was saying.
Right.
And I actually think back to one of the first times I really realized that my dad, he means well. One of the first time I realized, I remember I was graduating high school, and all of my friends, it's award night, right? And my friends are getting like 6 awards for attendance, awards for math, and I'm there. I go up on stage and I get 1 award. One. Mind you, my friends are from like a whole, like I went from freshman year to senior year with them, right? And I went up on the stage, I took my award, and I walked off deflated. Because in my head, I was thinking, my dad is going to be so disappointed. Because all through high school, all I heard was like, why can't you do what they do? Why can't you, so I was just like, oh, here we go. Another night, I'm going to hear this. I really don't feel like hearing it. I get off stage. We're getting ready to go. And my dad was like, yo, you're not going to go hang out with your friends? I'm like, nah, I'm okay. Let's just go home. And apparently he realized that there was something off. And he looked at me. He's like, what's the problem? I was like, oh, because everybody went up and they got 4, 5, 6 awards. I got 1. And he looked at me. He's like, yeah, but you're the only one that got that award.
Wow.
He said everybody else got 4, 5, 6 awards, and a lot of them got some of the same awards. Attendance, exemplary in this, but none of them got the award that you got. You're the only person that got that received that award.
And he noticed that.
And he
noticed that.
I was like, oh.
You didn't even notice that. Crazy part.
No. And that's when I didn't realize that until, of course, I got older. And I thought back to it that, hey, my dad really meant well. And like Ben says, like they're not saying it trying to be malicious, right? no malintent whatsoever. They're really just trying to find ways to motivate you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they trying to protect you from harm. Like
they're scared for you to fail.
Yeah, you know, so a majority of the family members in my family are women. So they didn't want me to experience discomfort or pain or sadness or anything that would hurt me. So when my mom tells me, if I tell her a dream, I'm very selective, right? But if I share something with her and she's like, well, you know, they got life insurance? Do they have health insurance? And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, it's when you make a lot of money, health insurance is like irrelevant. But like I can pay for my medical bills. But her sentiment is based on her frame of reference and how she grew up. Health insurance and having health insurance is a concern and something you need to consider. So now that I'm older, I see it's coming from a place of like, I want to make sure that if you get sick, you have something to cover it. Not knowing that what I'm doing or what I can potentially do can not only take care of that challenge, it can handle other challenges. And there's a Rocky reference. Spoiler alert: Rocky 3. If you remember Rocky 3, Mickey, whoever's watching, if you've never seen Rocky 3, it's a spoiler. But in Rocky 3 is like 2 movies in one. It's like a whole bunch of stuff happening in that movie. But in the first,
right?
Yeah, well,
yes.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one of the many amazing things in that movie is Rocky won after the Rocky 2. So when Rocky 3 starts, he's the champion. But he spends the first half of that movie fighting bums. The first half of the movie. And the reason Mickey was allowing him to fight bums is because he knew that Rocky didn't have that same killer instinct, eye of the tiger, that he had in the first 2 movies. Yeah. He was trying to protect him from getting his head knocked off. But in protecting him from getting his head knocked off, when a real challenge came, he couldn't handle it. So in trying to protect him, he actually hurt him. Yep. But he was trying to protect him because he loved him like a son, and he knew that Clubber Lang was going to knock his head off. So his intentions were kind. It was love. Mm-hmm. But it ruined him because Rocky, it's a scene he says, you know, I was winning, and Mick says they were all bums. Like he had to tell them, like, everybody that you thought was winning, they were bums. I handpicked them so you wouldn't lose or feel pain. And that's what sometimes our family members and friends do for us. They're trying to protect us from pain, but it hurts us in the long run.
But the danger of that too is how many people could have invented the next big thing by now, but initially was told, yo, get a job that's going to pay you, that's going to give you life insurance.
Did I ever tell you guys that the story that Chris Rock said told?
About him being president?
Yeah. I don't know if I think I told you, right, Gary?
You told me, but
yeah. Chris Rock said when he was a kid, right? He came home and he told his mom he's gonna be the first Black president. And his mom looked at him. She's like, "That's never gonna happen."
Mm.
Well, I mean, technically, he did become head of state. That movie,
right. He made it happen.
He was the first Black president.
What was his name in that movie?
I forgot.
That was awesome. Head of State was amazing.
Is it William? No. What was his name his character in that movie? Something Hayes, right?
I'm gonna, as Ron tells the story, I'm gonna pull it up.
So what it is? He told his mom, and his mom was like, "That's not gonna happen. You need to refocus and try to attain something that's attainable, that's actually attainable." And when Obama was elected, that's when he told the story. And he's like, not until he became an adult and he looked into his history, his grandfather was one of the people on not Black Wall Street, Black Congress. Mm. So he's like, he came from that lineage, but he's like, he never pursued, like he's like, he's very political, right? But he said he never pursued politics because of what his mom told him.
Yeah.
Right. And and in her defense, she was protecting him. Because from what she knew and what she understood, is like, hey, man, listen, they're never going to allow that to happen. And I don't want you to get hurt trying to attain that. I'd rather you try to, your goal be something lower and you attain it.
That's why I think it's amazing what Ben said. The Bible says, raise up a child in the way they should go. When they're older, they will not depart from it. Because just like, he didn't want to be a nurse, but had chosen, like, yo, I actually do want to go into nursing. Like, it would have been his choice, and like his mother would have supported him because she knew that he would have been happy, proceeding in that field. But Benjamin's love and passion is photography. So like his story is amazing in and of itself. Like at a young age, like the person don't realize, like, keep it like put it like this to you. If some random dude I see at the bus stop just happens to see me, I don't know, drawing on an iPad or something, he's like, yo, that's whack. And, he just walks away. Like, but y'all say it's fire. Like, my mom, my dad say it's fire. I'm listening to them. Like that might affect me for a little bit, but like, I don't know that dude. But like your mother, her influence and impact in your life, her saying to you, hey babe, whatever you want to do, I'm with you. So long as it makes you happy, I'm there. I'm right there with you. I got you. Like, that's huge. And that's likely why Bendy's in the position he's in today. Like, if she hadn't said that, like, who knows? Like Benjamin might have, I don't know, been a chef, or I don't know, something he even want to do. Like, but because that she was like, yo, like, if you want to, whatever you want to pursue, like, I'm here, as opposed to, like, be a nurse, like, do what everybody else in the family's doing, and, and we'll be good. Like, no, she actually supported him without knowing what his dream was. She actually opened the door for it.
But the flip side of that too, though, was, so my mom's unique in that sense, but other people were like, you should do this, you should do that. That's the thing that I realized, right? People will tell you what you should be doing based on their experiences, based on their perspective. Right. And that perspective could be built because of a different way of life and different time. So it doesn't apply to right now. But still, people are so thirsty to give you their 2 cents, like, you should do this, you should do that. And I think as a parent, going back to the topic, to the thing that you brought up, like, as a parent, I think your responsibility is to make sure your child is happy.
Yeah.
And not necessarily to tell them this is how you're going to be happy by doing this. It's like, you got to let him make his own way.
But it's interesting that so many parents make the mistake of comparison as well, trying to compare their child to their child's development to another child's development.
Yeah.
I remember when my wife and I had our first child, like, we were so like, oh, when she's gonna walk, when she's gonna no, and the pediatrician looked at us. She's like, listen, when the kids hit 5, they're all gonna be at the same level. Just let her be.
Yeah.
Don't put pressure. Just let her be. But fellas, thank you again. It's been an awesome talk this week. You guys
I knew it was gonna be awesome, man.
Thank you for staying up, coming out tonight, and having this talk with me. We look forward, man. 2021 is gonna be amazing, fellas. It's gonna be amazing. All right.
Okay, never mind, man.
Momentum going.